So, Ryan, tell me about the last couple of weeks of your life.
Man, the last couple of weeks have been an interesting run of things. You know, I found out that I was going to be fighting on the Ultimate Fighter finale against David Tamer. I was ecstatic. I was extremely excited, because I felt like I performed pretty well on the show, but didn't fight as well as I'd hoped for. And, have the opportunity to come back in the real thing was incredible. And then, I was training for that, and a couple weeks in, I was actually over in Ireland training with the guys from SBG, which is now my opponent's team, and I got the call that I'd be fighting Artem Lobov, the offer to fight for the title of the show, and I immediately, I was accepted. I was very, very thankful for the opportunity, but that was a little bit tempered by the fact that I accepted the call while I was sitting in the ER with a really bad staph infection, and it was an interesting thing, but everything cleared up, and I was able to train well, and I feel very well prepared, and I just feel great.
And when you've just had some physical challenge that maybe prevented you from doing physical things that you needed to, what do you do mentally to make it not about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no matter what, there's always things you can work on. And for me, breaking down tape and trying to understand, my opponent's objectives, his game plans, his paths to victory, things that I need to be doing is just as important as the physical component of the fight. And I really spent a lot of time doing that and watching tape. And as a result, I think I probably spent more time than I might have otherwise, on the tactical side of things. And I hope that will pay dividends in the fight.
Tell me about the difference between a bulletproof vest or not being shot with a gun.
A bulletproof vest is pretty good, kind of like covering up like this. It works pretty well when you have to, but again, if someone said, hey, I've got a tank-proof bunker, you want to check it out? I'm like, I'll tell you, why don't you try it first? Let's get the new guy. And basically, you always want to prefer to get out of the way, and that's something that, movement-wise, I always try to stick with on the ground. And for striking, of course, obviously my skill set's coming along, but footwork was always the number one thing. Preventing being clobbered is more important than anything else, and that's actually something Artem does very well. You see him fight with his hands down. He believes in getting out of the way. He doesn't believe in the bulletproof vest, and it's showed in this fight.
Awesome. And last thing, when you go into the gym, you train, pick Eamon or any of your friends, any of the guys you fight with, there's Eamon over there, and you see them every day, you learn their tendencies. How does that shape the next time you see them? And put that in context of having trained with Artem.
Well, really, it's interesting. When I train, speaking personally, I really try to go out of my way to not keep in the back of my head the catalog of strategies and movements that my training partners use, because I feel like I'll be able to cheat a little bit almost, and I can become extra effective against them in a way that's actually not realistic, whereas if I were meeting them for the first time, that extra effectiveness would actually not be as a result of my skill set, it would be a tactical thing. So from a training perspective, I try to just keep all the cards on the table and almost an empty mind so that you can focus on the technical aspect and grow as much there as possible. However, in the fight, on the other side of things, the tactical side and knowing how someone moves and how they think is absolutely critical, and that was something that I believe that spending time over at SPG, it certainly didn't hurt. Granted, they have a little bit of insight into me as well, but breaking down tape and understanding what Artem's goals are is very, very important to me, and I believe that that's going to be a big factor in this fight.
Is this going to be fun?
This is going to be incredibly fun. I love to do this. I'm so happy to be here.